All right, for this inaugural show of ARC Bakersfield, we thought, what better guest to have is Bakersfield's probably best guest to have, our mayor, Mayor Goh, joining us to discuss some great topic here about efforts to get the city more resources when it comes to the Big City Mayors Group. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, all right. You actually were talking about this earlier. What does ARC stand for?
Authentic, relevant, and community.
I love that. And that's everything that you do. You're authentic. You talk about everything relevant and to our community. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, but that's all of us together. That's what creates authenticity, relevance, and community.
Yeah, and you and I, when you first became mayor, you and I were talking about how you wanted to do more for the community. And that you were telling me that as mayor, before we had never gotten grants and stuff for the city, and you found ways to help improve the city. And that's where this Big City Mayors Group kind of comes into play, right?
Well, it was not that we had never gotten grants, but the opportunity to get more. Big City Mayors is a bipartisan coalition of the 13 largest cities in California. It was started really in 1994 as the Big 10 cities. And then when Bakersfield, in the 2010 census, rose to become the 10th largest city.
So we kicked one out.
They didn't want to kick one out, so it became the Big 11.
Okay.
And then a few years later, we added 2 more cities, Stockton and Riverside, and that was 13. And so now we're known as the Big City Mayors.
So with the Big City Mayors, what do you guys do in that group? You get together, you look to see what each city needs, and you come up with an agreement, like how can we all flourish in the state?
Big City Mayors represents about a third of our population in California. And so we look at what are the bipartisan issues that we can agree upon to elevate the people of our state. Now, I said bipartisan, and we have to actually come to unanimous agreement to put our stamp on anything, which is a wonderful thing. I love being a part of this group. But all 13 of us have to say we're going to support whatever the issue is. If we don't all come to agreement, it doesn't go on our letterhead or jointly as a Big City Mayors initiative, but people in each city can choose, each mayor can choose to support issues on their own.
So like a side story, like a bail on crime, like getting out, like every city of the 13, you guys have to come together on an agreement, like we want to raise the bail limit or something like that?
It's usually the legislation that we're supporting. So homelessness, actually, when I joined the Big City Mayors, homelessness was the big focus. That was an issue. It still is. It is California's paramount issue. But homelessness was and is the big issue. And so that's one issue that as Big City Mayors, we have advocated very diligently on and very aggressively on.
What's the part on the homelessness right now then? That you guys are all coming together. Yes, you're in agreement that homelessness is rampant, it's everywhere. How do we help curve that down?
So what we have done is advocate for state funding. Homelessness, starting actually with the sheltering of homelessness, but over the last few years, moving out to mental health, substance use, and housing, all 3 of which are crises that drive homelessness, that are the root issues of homelessness.
How do we get the mental health part in there? Like, do we get them into these housing places that give them mental health?
Well, it started off first with homelessness, getting people into shelter.
Yeah.
Right? We want to get people off the streets. But even after doing so, we tripled our bed space in Bakersfield already through HAP funding. And so we realized there's still a lot of people on the streets. But unless we deal with the root issues of mental health, substance use, and housing, we can't achieve the sustainability that we really need in homelessness. So how do we get them off the street? We have to get them mental health treatment. And so that has been one of the focuses in the last few years where Big City Mayors have advocated and supported legislation. We meet often in DC and work together with our state legislatures who are carrying bills, and then we lend our support.
What's the biggest benefit we've had then from it?
Bakersfield has received funding for homelessness, for mental health, for substance use, for housing, and also for youth jobs. So out of all of our joint advocacy, really two big pots: homelessness with the subsets
Sure.
of mental health, substance use, and housing, and then youth jobs, where California volunteers, we have worked to get jobs here where we can actually have paid internships in the city of Bakersfield.
I remember that paid internships. There were never really paid internships here. Now, any place you actually have to have somebody get paid, so it's helping young adults get that job. Well, as homelessness is the biggest issue, of course, for our focus groups, why was it important then for you guys, all the city mayors, now that you've seen this homelessness start coming together, putting people in housing, are we finding improvements across homelessness, across the whole state now?
We are finding improvements. In Bakersfield, in our last point in time count, the 2025 one that we did in January.
There was a small decrease in homelessness.
And there was a 10.5 decrease in unhoused homelessness, which would be the people you see on the streets. And so that means we're getting people off the streets and either into emergency shelter, temporary shelter, or into permanent supportive housing. When you think about California, that has 12% of our nation's population, but almost 50% of our unsheltered population, you can see that that's very disproportionate. And so we want to get them off the streets and into housing. As big city mayors, together with the funding that we've received and with our own city's investment of housing, we have taken we've touched more than 152,000 homeless persons.
Wow. I'm just curious, with all of the big city mayors, how has the respect for Bakersfield been with all those mayors?
You know, it's been so wonderful, Aaron, just to see us work together. And I remember when I would advocate for our city, and we meet every other week on Zoom. So we have a lot of communication. And when I spoke about California or Bakersfield feeding and powering the world, people really didn't have any idea to the extent that decisions that were made in the state impacted us locally.
Right.
And so that's what I've been able to elevate. And so now I get to be a part of that and being a voice for our city, which is so important. That really never happened before. So I was the first mayor actually to be a part of the big city mayors and give that voice.
And you're the first mayor ever to be a part of ARC Bakersfield. Which, by the way, thank you.
That is wonderful.
Thank
you. Authentic, relevant, community, Bakersfield. That's all of us, the sound of something better.
That's who we are. Mayor Goh, thank you very much.